Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Hunting Matters. It's been a while. We've been on a little bit of a sabbatical, but we are back in action here, and glad to welcome you all back to Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. Our guest this week is Jon Allen. Jon is a longtime friend and I guess fellow industry professional, if you will. He's the co-founder of a company called TRACT Optics. That's TRACT Optics. So, Jon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Joe, you're very welcome. It's glad to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, man. Typically, we cross paths on the convention floor at some show or something like that, but it's actually good to catch up again. So you've been in the outdoor industry and specifically in the optics industry for decades. You've been at Redfield, you've been at Nikon. Nikon's where we met. And then you launched, you and our co-friend and your co-founder, Jon LaCorte, launched a company called TRACT Optics, which has a unique business model. Jon has been here. Jon LaCorte has been on the podcast before, but it's been a while. So I'm glad we're getting a chance to reconnect and talk about what's new and what's happening with TRACT. So, Jon, you currently live in Long Island, New York, but originally from Washington. So how in the world did you end up in New York?
Yeah, so my dad being in the military, we kind of moved around a little bit and then settled in Colorado. So went to school there up in the mountains of Colorado, small college in Gunnison, Colorado. And then from there, settled in Denver, met my wife, married, started at Redfield. And then the folks at Nikon were just getting into the sport optics business and wanted me to come and help them get started. So that meant moving the family to New York. I promised my wife we'd give it our best in New York for 5 years, and I think we're 35 years later. We're still here. So, yeah, it's been a great journey. And so Jon and I, once we started TRACT, were able to keep an office here in New York and the warehousing and everything in Pennsylvania.
You know, the crazy thing is, Jon, about 6 months ago, I finally invested in a decent gun safe in the house. And you know what they always say, buy something that's twice as big as you actually need it because it's going to fill up before you know it. And I was cleaning out some old equipment and I found the very first scope I ever bought. It was a Redfield 5-star medallion. And I
That's right.
still have that scope. It's bizarre that I still have it. And optics have definitely come a long way. I'm curious to know, how did growing up in Colorado, did that shape your love for the outdoors, or where did that start?
That's for sure. If you knew anything about Gunnison, a lot of people come all over the world to hunt elk out in that country, but it gets down to like 20, 30 below zero, sometimes the coldest spot in the nation. So if you don't love the outdoors,
Yeah.
that is not a place for you to be. So yeah, a lot of hunting and fishing and backpacking and mountain biking, everything that you can think of up there in Gunnison. And yeah, it was an incredible place. Plus my wife was actually really engrossed in the outdoors. So it was the perfect place for us.
What are some of your earliest memories of being in the outdoors? Was it hunting, fishing, camping? How did that all start for you?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so my dad, being a city boy from St. Louis, he once he settled in Colorado, he loved fishing. So yeah, we spent many of summers fishing up and on the Gunnison up there before I even went to school there, and trying to find all the trophy waters there in Colorado. So hunting came much later for me. Actually, not until I really I got to Redfield. My family really didn't embrace hunting until after I got into it later. So yeah, that passion came a little bit later.
Mm. At what point did you make the decision that you wanted to make the outdoors and outdoor related, um, products and outdoor related business and industry? At what point did you decide you wanted to make that your future?
Hmm. I would say when it so one of the largest sporting goods stores in the entire country was called Gart Brothers. It was 7-story building there in Denver, and that's where I really started before Redfield. So, um, not knowing really where the path was going to lead, that opportunity at Redfield came up, and yeah, it felt right. It felt like it was home. But then once I started at Nikon, their their level of optical experience was head and shoulders over Redfield.
Mm,
Redfield was more of a hunting company, shooting
yeah.
company, let's say, where Nikon was more of an optical company. So that's really where the passion for building optics came. The outdoors came earlier, but the Japanese invest a lot of time and money in you and building your knowledge of what goes into a good optical instrument.
Yeah. A lot of Nikon's, their name is synonymous with cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So when you guys came along and you were working for Nikon and started to build up that outdoor sporting, hunting, shooting optics, was that difficult for the Japanese, the camera from a company? I guess the way I want to phrase it is a company that really primarily, built their focus and their image on cameras. Was that a big cultural shift, especially having guys in the U.S. work for a company that was based in Japan and a company that was more based on cameras than sporting optics?
That's a great question. And that leads you in a lot of different paths there. But to take a very high and respectful road, they
Mm,
did their best to try to learn it, Joe. They
mm,
really did. That culture has no idea what it means to provide um, food on your table from a
yeah.
successful hunt
Mm,
or anything like that, or even just simple fishing. It doesn't that Japanese Tokyo life anyway is a large city, and so they really don't understand the heritage that it comes from generation to generation. So they tried hard, but it really and especially shooting on the
mm,
side of just target shooting and even sporting clays, just simple things like that. They really don't have a lot of access to, and so we did our very best to try to educate them. But at the end of the day, that is something culturally they couldn't really, Nikon anyway, couldn't really give it everything, I guess is the best. They had to tiptoe around very,
yeah.
very carefully there. So, and hey, it's okay. It's what they have decided to do. And Jon and I knew that was coming down the line. And even though we helped him grow that business, and it was something that they did not ever want to hurt their overall camera business. And
Got it.
and in this industry, you get bad press sometimes, and
Yeah.
you got to be able to withstand that. And
Yep.
sometimes they really don't. They didn't want to fight that battle. Let's just say.
Sure. That's understandable.
Capital Farm Credit understands that there's something about the outdoors that pulls you in. Could be the fresh air, the colors, the smells, the animals, the freedom. It's all just a part of who you are. And with our recreational land loans, you can purchase land for whatever outdoor pursuit you please. That way, the outdoors won't just be in your soul, it'll also be in your name. To learn more, visit capitalfarmcredit.com. Together, we're better.
Hunting Matters is presented by Copendero Indoor Archery Pistol and Rifle Range, your premier indoor archery pistol and rifle shooting destination. Located in Oak Ridge North, right next to the Woodlands, Copendero offers two 25-yard pistol ranges, a 100-yard rifle range, and a 25-yard archery range. Whether you're honing your skills or just starting, Copendero has everything you need, including rentals, classes, a retail store, an in-house cafe, and a VIP lounge. Join Copendero today for an unmatched shooting experience. To learn more, go to copendero.com. Going back to your early days in the optics world with Redfield. Now you obviously you cut your teeth there. You learned engineering, manufacturing, customer service, and all those things. How important was it to you during that phase of your career to understand and learn every phase of that business? And was that kind of your launching pad?
Yeah, that was definitely the launching pad. So I was more trained on the customer service and sales side at that time, even though the Redfield manufactured right there everything but the glass.
Hmm.
So it was fascinating for me to take people on tours of that old Redfield factory because at one time in the 70s, that was a massive building, and they had hundreds of employees there. Leupold came by more in that 80s time frame and took over that number one spot. But prior to me getting there, Redfield was a much larger company. So yeah, we'd give tours and showing people from the raw aluminum all the way through to the final assembly to, purging nitrogen and collimating and all the final optical steps. That was very, very cool, and not really in my wheelhouse because I grew up more of a jock and didn't really embrace, a lot of the technical side of building things. So it was foreign to me, but it was a great education that honestly stuck with me.
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive into TRACT and kind of see what's going on with you guys. But I always like to know about people's backgrounds as you move through Redfield and then on to Nikon. What were there some things from a leadership and customer service perspective that you've carried over and have enhanced and made better as a business owner that you still carry with you today, or lessons that you learned in the past that you still carry with you today?
That's awesome. Yeah, the customer service side of it comes naturally. I don't know why, just because, the corporate side of it, from Redfield being a small company to Nikon being a corporate side of trying to keep things sometimes segmented, right? So if you're in sales over here. If you're in customer service, you're in customer service. So when large companies start to farm out customer service, it doesn't seem to be the thing that the consumer is looking for. So I think it's more framing it the other way, Joe. I think especially Jon and I, seeing what customer service shouldn't be, and really kind of let's be committed to that first and foremost. And not to say that Nikon and Redfield didn't. It's just there are certain people in that customer service world that I learned a lot from. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
People in my mind jump out that in Redfield and at Nikon that were phenomenal at customer service. And but Jon and I take a little bit different approach where we make our own self very accessible.
Yeah, absolutely do, and that's a unique thing about your business model that we do want to dig into. Let's talk about some basics here. For people that don't really understand optics, what is it in your mind that separates a truly great optic? And we're talking, binocular, we're talking scope, rifle scopes. What is it in your mind that truly sets a great optic apart from something you can go into a Walmart and buy over the counter?
Yeah. So it really comes down to that simple thing that a rifle scope, especially, it's only as good as the glass that's inside, and you're not going to beat the deer over the head with it. So if you're not going to be able to see it, you're not going to be able to shoot it. So there are so many intricacies when it comes to glass, as far as the coatings, as far as even the density of the glass that you use. And Jon and I get beat up numerous times that how come your scopes are so heavy? How come your binoculars have some heft to it? Yeah. And so, the simple answer is forget engineering for a mechanical build for a second in the materials, but the glass itself, as you increase that level, it becomes more dense. The denser it is, the heavier it is. And so there's areas where we're just not going to compromise there. And we can't please everybody at times, but it really is a matter of getting the light from one end to the other as efficiently as possible. And not to say that we have anything perfected, but we know the shortfalls. We have learned that where the compromises and things take place. So you work around those and you try to get to an end goal, partly because it starts more at the top and it says, okay, we've got to come up with a scope that's going to sell at Cabela's for $4.99. Well, we have to make money.
Yeah.
We have to pay our sales rep. The distributor and the dealer each have to make money. And then Nikon Corp has to make money. And then the subcontractors got to make money. So by the time you get to where Jon LaCorte specialized in. All right, Jon, you got $115 to give us to build us a good scope. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So we didn't go that route.
Okay.
We started the other way
Okay.
and say, what is it that we want to build? So yeah, when you're building products based upon starting to hit the end goal with the price, you're usually not going to get to where the consumer wants you to get as far as quality.
Yeah. And a lot of hunters, especially that I know, I bow hunt and rifle hunt. Bow hunters are cheap by nature. We're just tightwads. They'll go spend $1,000 plus on a bow setup, but they're like, well, you want to charge me how much for arrows and things, and it's kind of a running joke with bow hunters. But I love to rifle hunt as well, and there are certain situations where bow hunting just doesn't happen, can't apply. A lot of hunters focus on price and magnification. What would you say to those hunters? My wife always has a saying, pay peanuts, get monkeys. Um, and it's a funny saying, but it's true a lot of times. And I think when it comes to hunting and shooting optics, I think it's definitely the case. But a lot of hunters, they're like, well, I need to get this magnification, but I want this price point. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, for us, we start at the beginning with them and ask them what their goals are. What are they trying to achieve?
Mm.
Right. So if their goals are, I'm just a weekend hunter and I maybe going to go out 5 days a year, and so we may not have that exact product for them, but and if price is the number one consideration for them, we're going to guide them to what we believe is the best solution. It may be our brand, it may not be our brand, but if you put that customer first and understanding what their goals are, we have enough experience of what's out there to help them. Now we start, not everything has to be built in Japan at a certain level. So right. we have like many of the optical people in this space right now, there's a large subcontractor there in the Philippines that makes excellent product, and you don't have the cost of the workforce there. You can get good, decent quality glass for that guy that we're speaking about right there. So if price and things are a consideration, we have the scope for them. It's going to be made in a factory that maybe doesn't have the same tolerances, but will give you that lifetime of performance because their goals are different. But that guy who today, if he's looking to invest in an elk hunt that's going to cost him 12 grand and everything else that's got to go into it, and he's got some goals there, then yeah, you're going to lead him in the right direction. That this optic here is going to help you achieve your goal. So that's really how we start. It's really more where is it that they want to get to, and we'll help guide that direction with them.
Are you looking for an investment that goes beyond the ordinary? Wildlife Partners is the nation's leader in breeding and consulting for the exotic wildlife industry. When you invest in wildlife, you're not just acquiring a 100% tax-deductible asset, you're playing a vital role in the conservation of endangered species. Do you own land? You can turn your ranch into a profitable wildlife-driven business. And even if you don't own land, that's no problem. Wildlife Partners offers unique opportunities for non-landowners to invest in conservation while enjoying significant tax benefits and potential cash flow.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put that next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to dearanch.com. That's dearanch.com.
Yeah, full disclosure to the audience, I had a hunt I had lined up in Alaska a few years back, and I called you guys up and I said, this is what I'm hunting, this is what I'm going to be doing, which scope should I buy? And that's one thing I think that's the personal attention, the customer service that TRACT Optics provides, I'm going to brag on you a little bit here. It's like, well, how far are you going to be shooting, and what conditions, and what are you hunting, and where are you hunting, and what time of year? I mean, it got, we had those conversations, and then the rifle scope that you guys recommended, perfect. Fit, worked in that situation, works in a bunch of different situations that I hunt in. So, it's, I want people to know and understand that, what you're talking about as far as, you call us up and we'll guide you in the right direction. We'll tell you exactly what you need to do. That, talk a little bit about that and how important that is to TRACT Optics in your business model.
Yeah. So as a direct to consumer,
Yep.
if people don't know all the details there, so we don't feed our families by putting pressure on the reps or putting pressure on the major retailers to give us purchase orders. No, we do it one optic at a time. And yeah, some weekends there'll be lots of people buying online that we don't ever have to talk to. But in most cases, when they haven't heard about you, if you're going to drop on a high performance product, $1,000 plus, you usually want to speak to somebody. So for us, we enjoy that. That's why we try to get to as many shows as we possibly can, like yours and others around the country, because that gives us that face-to-face interaction. They can touch and feel the product. So that whole experience for us is what we enjoy and what we embrace and what we constantly invite. Every video we ever do, anything we ever put out there, our phone number and our email and our live chat is right there. And that means something to people, and we're glad to do it. So it's all part of the experience that you're going to get when you come to TRACT. And that's paramount for us.
What do you think? And I love that, because I love to support local small businesses, and all of you guys aren't local, you're not small. It's that attention to detail, I think, that makes people not only come back, but also tell their friends about it too. I can't tell you how many people are like, I've never seen that scope or heard that name before. I'm like, here, try it out. And they're like, wow, this is incredible. I got to check this out. What kind of changing gears here, what have you seen over your years in the optics industry that has changed the most from your days at Redfield to current days?
Yeah. Probably the biggest is the size of the actual optic. If you think, Joe, about, I know you said you're primarily a bow hunter, but so as I was learning to bow hunt in my rifle hunt in the beginning, bow hunting came later. So learning to rifle hunt in the Rockies there near Durango and areas where I'd go with this guy named Judd Cooney. And he was a big outdoor rider and hunter at that time, kind of took me under his wing. I killed my first 2 elk with a small 2-7 by 32 rifle scope, and never even thought for a second that I was under magnified or didn't have a big enough objective.
Right.
And killed both elk. I can't say with these, but we killed both elk without any problem whatsoever from an optical standpoint. But now what's funny is you can be at a show and the guy's talking how excited he is. He just booked his first hunt out west, and I need a 4.5 to 30 by 56 millimeter rifle scope. And I was like, well, whoa, who told you you need a tank on top of that elk rifle? It's not necessarily that they have that maybe in their brain somehow they think they're going to need that because they want to take a 700-yard, 800-yard shot on an animal that they've never even killed before. So that is probably by far the biggest thing, is that people believe that this high magnification, big optics is going to make them a better shooter and be more successful in the field. And as you know, in all your experience, high magnification in many cases is going to be an enemy to you, as far as just your scope's too magnified. You don't need that much of a big objective. Because why? Because it really has to do with the magnification and the objective size working together. That, like on a 2-7, if I had that thing on 5 power, I still have a 6 millimeter exit pupil, which is phenomenal for low light and for hunting. But anyway, that's a long-winded answer that people are buying bigger optics, 30 and 34 millimeter tubes, which drives the cost up just from a manufacturing standpoint. So in most cases, it's not needed. But Joe, we're in business to take care of our families and the next generation. So if that's what people want, that's what we build.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip. But when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. Global Rescue provides unparalleled capabilities to transport members to the hospital of their choice, not just the closest. So trade what-ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters.
In the heart of nature, give your deer the nutrition they deserve with Record Rack deer feeds. The premium feeds support antler growth and overall herd health. Whether you're a wildlife enthusiast or a dedicated hunter, Record Rack deer feeds provide essential nutrients for a thriving herd. Choose Record Rack deer feeds for optimal deer nutrition. Visit recordrack.com to learn more.
I always like to hear success stories and how they started. What was the aha moment when you and Jon LaCorte sat down and said, you know what, we can do this ourselves. We can leave the corporate world and we can do this ourselves. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, that is a very cool story. So having spent so much time on the road with Nikon, you get a lot of airplane time. And I like to write. And I know you being a writer will appreciate that. But I spend a lot of time just writing on the events. It's like a long going prayer I've had for 40 some years that I fill up book after book after book. And so it was just during the time of seeing Nikon was in turmoil about certain things that I started writing out this plan and this idea, and even the name all just kind of flowed and came and taking a different path, because I was watching this guy named Jason Harrison with company called Kuyu, which we all know very well, and his tragic story. But it's really not tragic he was a pioneer in leading that whole charge, and he was just getting started, and there wasn't any other optic company doing it, and at that time anyway, or successfully. Maybe there was some very tiny little Chinese companies or something doing it, but anyway, so that all kind of started transpiring, and then Jon was very, very, very miserable. They were putting him through hell as far as taking our brand symbol off all the television shows and doing certain things. And just by God's grace, we at an ATA show collided with a former business partner that he had left an ad agency and became the president of a Montana Decoy. But the man behind him, the Weaver family behind him, I started talking to him, and all of a sudden Jon comes from the other direction, and he was actually coming there to apply for a job.
Oh,
and
no.
I was just there to help him kind of from a sales perspective. But no, it all kind of just came together. And with this gentleman, told him about it, and you could see his eyes light up and say, please don't talk to anybody else. We'd like you and Jon to put together a business plan. And so that's the aha moment that Jon and I said, wow, look at how much this man believes in us and what we know and what we could possibly do. And so then for months, we sat there and chiseled out our ideas and things. And what's interesting about that story, Joe, is that the way we chiseled it out and thought about it and where it is today, I can't say night and day, but you needed a starting point, but where it's gone is very, very different. And we thought we knew the optics business, but you may know the optics business in a traditional sense, but when it comes to running a direct-to-consumer company, it's completely different. And thankfully, the tenacity and things and the patience of everybody involved behind us has proved successful. So, but it didn't go quite as planned. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I equate that to, when I write the first draft, I look at the first draft of my first book now and I'm like, are you kidding me? That is absolutely terrible. And then, you know, 15 drafts later and a couple of editors later, then you look at it,
Yeah, there you go.
I'm kind of proud of this now.
Yeah,
And I tell people who read some of the original copies, I'm like, it's nothing like when you first read it, so you should give it another read. But, you guys really stepped out. Not only did you step out and become independent business owners in a crowded world, a crowded competitive environment, but then you took it a step farther and you said, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to eliminate the retail. We're going to eliminate the retail piece. We're going to do this direct to consumer. How scary was that, and why did you guys decide to do that?
yeah. The why behind it is because Jon and I, especially together at Nikon, we were a great team together. Is that we were just getting so frustrated on all the kind of the barriers that end up getting put around you because in all fairness, because I developed some wonderful relationships with all the major retailers across America all those years. And I'd have absolutely nothing negative to say. And they built great retailers. But at the end of the day, when you start to be a major brand, they become they dictate to you what profit margin they need, and they've got new store allowances, and they've got advertising allowances. And wow, by the end of the day, for you to be able to develop the product you want to develop, that becomes a huge challenge. So then you end up moving out of countries like Japan and Europe, and you end up going to other Asian countries that maybe don't have the same level of expertise. We'll leave it at that. But anyway, there's compromises that have to happen. So we're not going to take that path. And if it means that we're going to have to eat macaroni and cheese for 5 straight days in a row sometimes, then that's what it's going to mean. And we're going to stay the course. And there's been some rough months and some rough weeks, but it's interesting, if you take care of one person at a time, how fast that word spreads. And you really don't have to spend the millions and millions of dollars advertising if you take care of people.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science when it comes to how people respond to kindness and your willingness to build great stuff and not compromise. So that's been it. And there's been a lot of times in our life that we may be questioned. All right. And we get a lot. Now it's different. It's funny. Now the pressure is we get calls from retailers asking us, I could give you a big order. And we thank them. We thank them for their willingness to believe in us and things, but we're on a different path. And if things change someday when Jon and I are dead, then it'd be okay. But right now we're going to stay the course.
Got it. Are you looking for a smarter way to manage your document imaging and print environment? Dex Imaging delivers industry-leading printers, copiers, and fully managed print services designed to cut cost, boost productivity, and simplify your workflow. Whether you're a small business or a Fortune 500 company, Dex provides personalized local service with the power of a national network so you get fast, reliable support wherever you are. Dex gives back, proudly supporting organizations like Houston Safari Club Foundation by giving through profit sharing. Dex Imaging, smarter technology, exceptional service, proven results. Visit deximaging.com or email Adam Montgomery at adam.montgomery@deximaging.com.
Gunworks just launched a new rifle system. It's called Index. It's sized for adventure and engineered for extremes. With barrel lengths as short as 16 inches and a folding stock that collapses to an ultra-short profile, the Gunworks Index fits nicely in a UTV, a float plane, or across the seat of your truck without sacrificing accuracy. The Index features a built-in ARCA and pick rail for use on tripod or bipod, and a night vision rail to ensure you're ready for any scenario. The Gunworks Index delivers magnum capability in the most compact chassis rifle system on the market. Visit gunworks.com to learn more.
So, you talked about building customer trust and word of mouth and all those things. What you guys do a masterful job of educating your clients, whether it's a one-on-one conversation or whether it's all the videos you guys do. Um, what, how did you guys come about with, because I know you have a marketing background as well. How did you guys come up with, like, okay, this is how we're going to tell our story, and this is how we're going to, the channels we're going to use? How did you guys sit down, and I know that's constantly evolving and changing as the world changes, but how did you guys kind of decide on what approach you were going to use besides just word of mouth?
Yeah, so there you go. Even though, yes, I had more of a sales and marketing, both Jon and I did. Jon more on the product marketing, me on the sales and marketing side.
Yeah.
It still didn't resonate on how to talk to the consumer correctly in that space. Because you remember, like, how in the early days of Harry Shave Club and Dollar Shave Club, and how they talked to the consumer was just like you and I are talking.
Yep.
There was no like lawyer writing ad copy and all this funny. It was more like very personal, and that was so weird to Jon and I, because coming from the corporate side.
Yeah.
But we in the early times, we had a partner. His name was Jake Fagan, and I'll throw a plug in for him. And he was brilliant in how he helped us talk like that and strategize for how to present the brand in such a way. And so he was very instrumental in helping us understand how to do that. So yeah, you have to position yourself as very approachable and real, and not your corporate advertising, as the lawyers like to call it, puffery, where you say all the EST words, right, with asterisks behind them and things like that. No, don't go there.
Yeah. 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 I think that people in this day and age are far more educated, or have so much more access to knowledge and information at their fingertips. With one of these, that you really can't. The old days of marketing lingo and keywords and things like that, are people just want you to talk to them. They just want to, and that's what you guys do. They just want to have a conversation with you about whatever it is, whether it's a service or product or whatever it is. One of the things we never shy away from, and I know that you are, I know that you're a Christian and you often profess your faith, and that's one of the things kind of I first noticed about you a long time ago when we very first met. But your bio mentions your faith, family, and a guiding scripture, and I'm gonna read it so I make sure I don't mess it up. But it says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How has faith influenced your leadership style and the culture that you guys have tried to create?
That's awesome. One time, so when you're in a Christian environment, I think everything's fine. But when you get out of that Christian environment and you get into certain corporate environments,
Yep.
you kind of, your sphincter kind of just closes down, and you don't really have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
So one time, I'm in my early days of the sales manager at Nikon. This guy, he see that I had a Bible in my briefcase, and he's like, what are you doing with that in there? He's like, he's on me. But he was doing it to test me, because he was a strong Christian in his faith. And he said to me, I am looking forward to the day when a sales manager has the balls enough in a sales meeting to give God the glory and not puff your chest up at how great we did. So, man, that stuck with me. His name was Greg Wilson, and he has made a major impact in my life. And so I took that and ran with it. And in those early days of my crackling voice up there on the stage at Nikon, all the Japanese there, I went for it. And then slowly that build, and guys that you and I both know together have encouraged that along the way. And God just kind of created this environment there at Nikon with all these Christian men praying for each other, and then organizations like you used to be involved, strong Christian organizations. It was incredible how all that synergy kept happening.
Yeah.
And so that was paramount for Jon and I as we started TRACT. And actually, you may know it or not, but TRACT is what in the Christian world you give out tracts. Tract is you share the gospel message by giving out tracks.
Mhm.
So that's actually the inspiration behind it. And so that, tract is a tract of land. There's many uses of that word, but I took it personally as an opportunity to share the good news through the company.
Yeah.
And you don't have to beat somebody over the head with it. You just treat them the way they want to be treated, and we give God the glory all the time.
Yeah. And you can tell people that are receptive, not receptive, longing for it. Maybe they're afraid to ask about
Yeah.
people's faith, Christianity, their beliefs, that sort of thing. And obviously, you and I both, and a lot of people watching and listening to the show have seen that this nation is hungered for that, and is hungry for it even more and more. Especially among, surprisingly, I have three boys, three young men. My wife and I raised, and it's I hate to say this, but it's surprising to see that generation of for several years shy away from faith and their religious beliefs, and now it's like it's kind of like when you during the pandemic you had a bunch of people that were young that were like I want to start sourcing my own foods. I want to learn how to hunt. I want to do this sort of thing. We're
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
at the place in our country where there's a lot of people going, I need something else in my life. So there's a piece of the puzzle that's missing.
Mm.
And that's been really cool to observe. One of my kids who grew up in the Episcopal Church a few weeks back, called my wife, said, I'm looking for a church right now. And he hadn't been to church in years.
Mm.
And, and it's not about the church, it's not about the building, it's not about the physical structure and the people, but it's the fact that he's pursuing a relationship with Christ, and
Amen.
is pursuing he needs something in his life, and he's identified the fact that he thinks he knows what he needs, and he's pursuing it. And that's been really cool to see among a lot of people in that younger generation these days.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well said.
I told you that fly was going to land on my face, John.
I saw it coming.
Folks, we have one fly in the podcast studio somehow today, and I knew it was going to land on my face at some point. There it is, sitting on my paper. So what is new and exciting at TRACT Optics that you want to tell people about? Because you guys, every time I turn around, there's something new and exciting coming out. There's a new product, there's a variation, there's a new techniques, things like that. What's the latest, greatest at TRACT that you want to share with people?
Yeah, thank you. So what's been about almost a 3-year project is taking the technology of a ballistic solver and a binocular and putting it together to create what we think is a state-of-the-art optic and a state-of-the-art ballistic solution. So our new Toric 1042, we partnered with Eagle Ballistics,
Mm-hmm.
a man that's been in Alabama for many years. He's moving his family now up to Michigan, but he's a retired Army sniper and instructor. And he has started Eagle Ballistics as a ballistic solution years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But then he contacted Jon and I. He runs a long-range shooting school down in Alabama. And he contacted us a few years back, and we helped design a reticle with him on the rifle scope side and a couple other nuances to our scope. And he was amazed at how Jon and I embraced and listened and followed his lead. And so that spurred on now a relationship that got deeper and deeper with his ability to read the wind, his ability to provide an accurate solution at long range. So we took it and ran with it as far as him allowing us to. And then that relationship got deeper. And now it has allowed us to launch this binocular laser rangefinder with Eagle Ballistics fully incorporated into it.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really spectacular. And what really blew Jon and I's mind from the very beginning is because, you've watched that evolution happen with those early binocular rangefinders had that blue tint and just you really compromised on the binocular quality of it. Yeah, you might be able to get the range. But now, as you talked about earlier, what are the changes you've seen now? The huge popularity and COVID had a lot to do with this, of people just shooting, getting out and having fun, whether they compete or not. yes, there's a lot of interest in the whole PRS and NRL and all of that, and it's exciting. A lot of people are using our product, but and so that lends itself to a whole different thing about people wanting to know, how much should I dial? Should I, and where should I hold for the wind? And does temperature play into the effect? Does barometric, all these different things that affect the flight of a bullet, which
Right.
people either know or they don't know, or they want to learn or they don't want to learn. But that binocular that we created allows them with a custom heads-up display to be as technical as you want to get, or as simple as for a bow hunter. Just give me the angle compensated range. I don't need to land a plane. I just need to know, do I need to hold at 35 yards or 45 yards?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So anyway, yeah, we're very excited about that. And we launched it in early March, and here we are almost in June, and we still haven't caught up yet. We've got our third shipment already sold out. So yeah, and it's mostly coming from people who've been faithful and loyal to us, and they know the type of product we're going to produce. So they didn't even hesitate in buying. And yeah, it's exciting.
That's incredible. This episode of the Hunting Matters podcast is brought to you by B&B Taxidermy. Since 1983, the Baird family at B&B Taxidermy have been the premier experts in trophy mounts. Whether it's African, North American, global, or exotic, B&B Taxidermy will provide design, artistry, and attention to detail that you won't find anywhere else. B&B Taxidermy can also design and decorate your trophy room, showcase, or office with custom dioramas built to suit your space. Check out their showroom of exotic trophies on Jones Road in Houston, or visit their website at bbtaxidermy.com. B&B Taxidermy, proud supporters of the Hunting Matters podcast and Houston Safari Club Foundation. This episode of Hunting Matters is brought to you by Republic Boot Company. At Republic Boot Company, we don't just make boots, we craft heirlooms. From premium custom and stock boots to handcrafted leather bags, belts, and accessories, everything we create reflects Texas heritage and timeless quality. Our Houston craftsmen use the finest leathers and time-honored techniques to deliver style built to last. Whether you're stepping into a new pair of boots or carrying a signature leather bag, experience craftsmanship the Republic way. Visit Republic Boot Company and discover quality made for everyday life. Learn more at republicbootcompany.com. And you guys, do you, having been around you for some time, I know your brain works like a well-oiled hyperactive machine. Are you guys always going, hey, it'd be cool if we did this or did this? And do you find yourself having to pull back the reins like when you do a product launch like this, or are you always in the mindset of the development pipeline?
That's the beautiful thing about LaCorte and I, right? So, he has his feet firmly planted in the ground, where mine are kind of floating sometimes. So Jon is very realistic and has an engineering mind and knows. And so, yeah, we bounce things off together. And, listen, I've made some bad decisions over the years, we both have together, that we thought it would work and it didn't work. And it doesn't discourage us, but when you're a small company, you got to be careful how you manage that, and be very, very conservative. So I'm very thankful that Jon has that mind to kind of sift through the hype of something, and let's get down to it and really determine, is there truly a need? So, Joe, the beautiful thing now is we don't have to guess, is that the consumer tells Jon and I what direction to go. That if we're so close to the market, they're the ones that are guiding and leading us. So like when somebody will call us and say, I notice in your line, you need a high magnification bench rest scope. Well, guess who's our target market? I mean, in our research and development, we'll spend time with them and their team. What type of things you're looking for in the reticle? What does the scope have to do to make you successful? So when it came to this project with the rangefinder, James being a super user and all the hundreds and hundreds of students that go through his class using the competitive product, what were the fail points? What are the things that are looking for? So yeah, that if you do that right, it's going to take time. And that's why it took the time that it did. So we spend less time more on the hype side and more on, hey, I've gotten 6 calls this week for a mid-range magnification scope that is not first focal plane, but is more traditional second focal plane, because most people have transitioned to first focal plane where that reticle gets larger and smaller as you turn magnification, and that doesn't work in all instances. So yeah, it's more like trying now to decipher, because he handles all the written communication with emails and things. I'll take all the phone calls. And so it's more understanding, are you seeing this same thing I'm seeing? Type situation.
That's very cool. Yeah, and that speaks to how well your direct-to-consumer model works, because you're hearing firsthand, like you said, from the customer, what they want, what they need, what they like, what they don't like. And you're not, it's not secondhand information. It's coming directly to you, which is very, very cool. The name of the program is Hunting Matters. So I got to ask you, do you have a big hunting trip lined up in the next year that you're looking forward to?
Well, I got a couple things on my bucket list, but mostly I have an empty freezer. So I've developed some really good friends out in Colorado that are hunting buffalo. So that's kind of on the drawing board at the moment, as well as an elk hunt out there. But it's funny is Long Island, as weird as it sounds, there's a lot of public hunting opportunities for bow hunting. Obviously, nothing. Yeah, they have a very short window of a slug gun, but the So I spend a lot of time bow hunting on the island, and it's super convenient. And someday I hope and pray to have my own property to hunt from, but at the moment, friends and family.
Yeah, you're blowing a lot of people's minds who've never been up to that part of the world that you can actually hunt on Long Island.
Yeah, for 70 miles from New York City, I can kill a big buck on Long Island.
Very cool. Very cool.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844.
Well, folks, we've been talking today with Jon Allen, the co-founder of TRACT Optics. That's TRACT. You can check them out at tractoptics.com and all their social media. You guys do pardon the pun, you do a bang-up job of instructionals, educational, tutorial videos and things like that, which is great. I mean, I refer back to them all the time. So I want to congratulate you guys on having the guts to step out of the corporate world and start your own business and doing it in a unique way with this direct-to-consumer model. And I am a fan. I bought one of your scopes. I got to check out this new product now. There goes my hunting budget for the year. But it's amazing what you guys have done, and we wish you continued success.
Joe, it's been a pleasure, and I'm glad to hear your wife and everything is okay. And may God continue to direct you in all your efforts. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Folks, we'll see you next week here on Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. And thank you, and have a great week. Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.